On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. One-of-a-kind opinions, big-name guests, the teams you care about every day. It's the Ron Johnson Show, part of Locked On Sports Minnesota, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Ron Johnson Show. I'm your host, Ron Johnson, and on today's show, I'm excited. Why? We're talking wide receivers, NFL wide receivers at that. And I don't really know where Sam's going to take me with this one, but I have a feeling that it's going to be a little bit disappointing with some of these grades. We're going to talk about Rudy Gobert, of course, in the Daily 3 coming up later. And then we had David Cobb on, and this is why, like, NFL news, it's so perplexing sometimes. We had David Cobb on yesterday, so please go back and watch that episode. But he works for the Panthers. He's at practice with the running backs that he's talked about. And then the Panthers make a blockbuster trade literally minutes after we're done with our interview with Cobb. So that would have been kind of cool to get his take on Baker Mayfield. We have to get him back on, of course, now. But, you know, maybe we've spoken into existence of, making the Panthers a better team. But as I bring my producer in, Sam Ekstrom, this offseason has been one of like, what's next? What's next? What's next? That's all everybody keeps talking about. What's the next trade? Who's the next team going to the Super Bowl? Who's the next big thing? Who's the next, Tom Brady? But as we get into this next receiving court, we talked about running backs yesterday. We talked about that tier. We talked about offensive linemen as well this past week. But before we jump into the wide receivers, because in my opinion, Justin Jefferson, elite. Top of the class, should be number one. But before we get into that, we have a word from our sponsors.
Yes, we do. Blue Nile. Let me tell you about how you can make your big moments, your big milestones sparkle with Blue Nile. If you're ready to pop the question, or maybe it's an anniversary, maybe it's a birthday, maybe it's Mother's Day, maybe it's just a random kind gesture. Blue Nile is available 24/7 to help you pick out diamond shapes, diamond sizes, clarity, setting style. Their handcrafted jewelry is unbelievable. It's one of a kind, helping you make memories, and that's what it's all about. Make the moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive also includes engagement. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, arrives in discreet packaging, doesn't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free. Find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today.
So, as we've done every show, I'm going to let Sam kick it off. Sam, what's the question of the day?
Yeah, we're going through a series, Pro Football Focus ranked every position group in the NFL at every position. So we did running backs. Vikings were number 4. We did offensive line. Vikings were number 19. Today we get into receivers, and I think this is going to be the most controversial. There are 6 teams that are considered in the elite tier. Now, Ron, let me stipulate, and this is important, I think.
Okay.
This includes tight ends. This is pass catchers.
Okay. All right.
So that is, I think, affecting these rankings. So with that in mind, and it's going to be tough to get all 6, I think, but if you want to take a stab, let's see how many you can get of the 6 elite teams, and are the Vikings in the elite tier? What do you think?
Ooh, so that's a tough one with tight ends, because so what I'm going to go with, ooh, that's a tough one. So it's going to be receivers. Can receivers outweigh their tight ends? So I got to go with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle with the Dolphins. I'm going to go with Devontae Adams because he now is with the big dude, Darren Waller.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp just because it's Cooper Kupp in his group.
No, they are not. They are not a top tier.
Oh, but OBJ is gone. So Odell Beckham is gone. So, yeah, so that is one. Okay. I'm going, and I forgot about Hunter Renfrow. He's there too with the Raiders. I got to go. I mean, I'm going to say maybe is Travis Kelce good enough to get his group up in there? I mean, he does have Juju Smith-Schuster now.
They are not.
Okay.
In fact, they are actually in the 3rd tier after losing Tyreek Hill.
Wow. Well, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley.
No. They're number
Wow.
8. They're in the second tier.
Ooh.
Some of these
Rashad
surprise
Bateman
me.
and Mark Andrews?
Let's see, Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore is top tier.
Okay.
Where is Baltimore? Baltimore is down the list a bit. Yeah, Baltimore is actually toward the bottom.
So Debo Samuel's in because he's still a 49er, and you got George Kittle.
There you go.
Okay.
That's number 6. So you've got half of them. You've got half of the elite tier.
Well, you got to go T. Higgins, Jamar Chase.
Nailed it. That's actually number 1 on the list. The Cincinnati Bengals.
I forgot about T. Higgins.
Mm-hmm. 2 left.
Cardinals, maybe DeAndre Hopkins, Zach Ertz.
No Cardinals on the list. They are in the second tier.
DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, Seahawks.
Yeah, that's a tough. Yeah, no quarterback there. They are in the second tier as well.
Okay. Wow, that's a tough one.
So the number 2 team.
I mean, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, are they in this?
Well, that's what this is all about, right? Where do the Vikings land in this list? They are not considered an elite pass catching group. They are in the number 2 tier. So let me tell you let me fill in the blanks for you. Number 2, Tampa Bay Buccaneers with no longer Gronk,
right?
No longer Antonio Brown, but they've got Chris Godwin, they've got Mike Evans, and apparently that puts them into number 2. Honestly, I'm a little surprised by that.
Very surprised because Chris Godwin is not even in. I mean, yeah. Okay, keep going.
They seem to like Russell Gage, but I mean, I know they were good last year, but at number 4, they are saying the Philadelphia Eagles with A.J. Brown's addition.
They added A.J. Brown. Okay, I forgot about that.
Devontae Smith, Jalen Reagor, Dallas Goedert, nice tight end. So that makes a little more sense. So where are the Vikings in this list? I mean, you would think, all right, they must be just outside the top tier. They must be just outside the top 6. They are way down at number 15.
Wow.
Number 15. And that's... I know that Irv Smith isn't necessarily an established talent yet, but he's still pretty darn good. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen are a heck of a 1-2 punch. And a better 1-2 punch, Ron. I mean, wouldn't you say that they are as good a 1-2 punch as anything you're seeing in Philadelphia, anything you're seeing in Tampa Bay, Oakland? Like, just the top 2, to me, feels like that should gain them more equity.
100%. I mean, so, and I get the whole tight end piece of this, but the teams you named, like the Bucs don't have a great tight end. So who's the 6 again? So I know it's the Bengals. I get that.
Yep, Bengals number 1, Bucs number 2, Dolphins number 3.
Yep, I said Dolphins. Yep.
Eagles number 4.
Okay, I wouldn't
Raiders number 5, Raiders. And San Francisco 49ers.
And 49ers. Yeah. So yeah, I'd have to take I mean, nothing against the Eagles, and I get they added A.J. Brown, but we don't know what he can do with Jalen Hurts. A.J. Brown, what he's going to realize really fast is he benefited from King Henry. Like when you have 7-8 men in the box, you're getting a lot of single coverage. So it's going to be interesting to see because a lot of receivers do that. They think the grass is always greener. And Stephon Diggs, it worked for him. The grass was greener in Buffalo than it was in Minnesota for him. Devontae Adams is going to find out real fast. It might be better. It might not. Tyreek Hill is going to find out, I think, extremely fast with the Dolphins. I don't think it's greener in Miami than it is in Kansas City. So that to me, and the Bucs, like I don't see that one anymore. Like without Gronk, you're losing a big piece. Chris Godwin, I don't feel like he's done a lot. Mike Evans is not in these top lists anymore. Because Mike Evans on this list of receiving yards, he's below DJ Moore, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. Travis Kelce had more yards than him. Chris Godwin is up there. CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman with the Colts, Darnell Mooney with the Bears. You got Scary Terry McLaurin with the Commanders.
Yep,
Hunter Renfrow, Brandon Cooks, and then you have Mike Evans. So I don't understand how the Bucs get up there to 2. Like I would definitely put Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen ahead of Mike Evans and Godwin. But again, if you give Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen to Tom Brady, they're probably number 2. And I think that's where PFF gets a little bit biased is they allow the quarterback to steer them. And I think that's why the Vikings always get down ticked when it comes to it. Because if you do individual PFF, Justin Jefferson's up there. So I don't understand how that math works out. But again, it's fun. They want to do what they do. I don't agree with it. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, to me, they're a top 5 receiving core. You without a tight end, but Irv Smith, he was hurt. So again, they don't know what Irv Smith can be. But if you throw Irv Smith in there with KJ Osborne, Kirk Cousins, and Adam Thielen, they're a top 5 receiving core, period. With Tom Brady, they're clearly number 1 or number 2. I think Tom Brady is steering the PFF train a little bit over there. But it is what it is. That's my take on it. But up next, like we talked about, there was a blockbuster trade that happened. How could that have impacted the Vikings? Could the Vikings have been a part of this trade at some point? We know there's a lot of teams that wanted pieces of the Vikings before. Could this be one of them? Up next on The Ron Johnson Show. Welcome back to The Ron Johnson Show. Today, we're going to talk blockbuster trades. Everybody knows what happened. Baker Mayfield, as we're on with David Cobb, Panthers running backs, running backs coach, helper, and then college scout, pro scout. Baker Mayfield was traded. And it was a friendly trade. I think it was like a 5th round pick or conditional 5th round pick. And the team split the money to make it work. And then he's converting the rest of his contract in order to make this work for the Panthers. He's going to go into camp and compete. But Sam, as I bring Sam Ekstrom in, Sam had a question. What is that question, Sam? Because you want to know about Kirk Cousins and how this could have worked.
Right. So you mentioned it in the first segment. This was the offseason of quarterback movement. What dominoes are going to fall? Is Aaron Rodgers going to retire, demand a trade? Where's Russell Wilson going? Where's Garoppolo going? Ended up being nowhere. Will the Bucs need a QB? Will the Saints need a QB? Well, one of these big pieces was Baker Mayfield. This is probably the last domino to fall now that Deshaun Watson is in Cleveland. Mayfield wanted out. But at one point, before Watson, before anything, I think Kirk Cousins was definitely on the table for some of these teams. And if you're Carolina, Matt Rule's coming off a couple really disappointing seasons to start his tenure in Carolina. If Carolina wanted to upgrade, would they have been wiser to swing a deal for Kirk Cousins? Would that have been a better play than getting 1 year of Baker Mayfield as a quarterback? What do you think?
So I look at their salary cap. So I'm guessing they had to split the money because, one, they wanted to have cap space. The Browns wanted to move him because they owed Deshaun Watson $230 million. Only $1 million in the first year, but $230 million. So they know there's no way we can make this work where we keep Baker Mayfield, even if Deshaun Watson is suspended for the year because he has settled so many of these suits. Hey, we just got to bite this bullet and have our backup play. We got to have our tight end play quarterback if we have to, but we have $230 million on the books is guaranteed unless there's some kind of ridiculous conviction that comes up with this where they're like, whoa, I did not see that coming. We don't owe you anything, bud. We're not paying you. And so when you think about Kirk Cousins, and this is why this is the only way this works, the Vikings would have had to get, in order to trade Kirk Cousins, when you look at his production, what he can be, new head coach, you got to get 2 to 3 first-round picks for him. Like Kirk Cousins now has created a vacuum, I guess you'll say, of he just continues to suck money in. He's found a way to up his stock. People continue to come to him. We saw the whole, before when he could have went to the Jets, allegedly took less money to come to the Vikings. And for those listening on the podcast, not on YouTube, I did the air quotes, of course. But with Kirk Cousins, the only way to make that work and to not feel like you got absolutely hosed in this deal would be the Vikings would have had to get 2 to 3 first-round picks. Like that's when you look at that, or at least 2 first-round picks and maybe some conditional picks, maybe Sam Darnold. Like you take Sam Darnold and you give them Kirk Cousins. Or the Vikings say, hey, we're going to get Baker Mayfield, so we'll give you Kirk Cousins. We still need 2 first-round picks, though. And then they go get Baker Mayfield for pretty much nothing because it's a 5th-round pick and you're splitting money. So now I think the Panthers are only on the books for like $5 million, whereas the Browns are going to take that other 10. So to have a $5 million quarterback with 2 first-round picks in the next 2 years, with this pass game, run game, you saw what Stefanski got out of Baker Mayfield. Not sure Kevin O'Connell is there yet, but I think he's pretty close as far as an offensive-minded guru. That would be the only way to make it work. I don't think the Panthers went a bad route by getting Mayfield because he was a guy that had flashes of really good football. Like this was a really good team. It was just the times where he made some really dumb plays. And that was one of the reasons why Odell Beckham wanted to get out of there. Like, he felt like he was wide open at times, and he was looking to Jarvis Landry. And so I think that's what kind of started to weigh on that team, was just the mistakes Baker Mayfield made. But maybe that's a coach letting him be too much of a cowboy, letting him do what he wants to do. I think he was humbled. Hopefully humble in the right way. Like Jameis Winston, I think, had the same humble feeling when he left the Bucs, and it's like, wait a minute, I'm not your guy. And I think now you see him with the Saints, and he's working hard in the offseason. He's talking about watching film. He's talking about doing the little things in practice after watching Drew Brees. Hopefully that happens for Baker Mayfield. But no, I don't think the Panthers made a bad choice. Like, come after Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, if it's like a couple late round picks or mid round picks for Kirk Cousins, that's the dumb trade on the Vikings part. You have to ask for 2 first-round picks for Kirk Cousins. But that's just me. I know you don't believe that, Sam.
Well, I think that Cousins could have fetched at least 1 first-round pick, if not more, or a couple of 2s. Like, I think that he did have value based on the Russell Wilson trade. I think that sort of set the market. But if I'm Carolina, I guess I'm just hedging my bets here, because I don't really see their direction. They've got 3 quarterbacks. They've got Sam Darnold, last year of his contract. Baker Mayfield, last year of his contract. 3rd-round pick Matt Corral. Maybe that's their play. Maybe they're just trying to create a bridge until Matt Corral is ready. They want to have a veteran step in this year and then, have Corral be the future. Maybe that's the direction they've chosen. It's definitely more cost-effective when you commit to a rookie quarterback. You've got more money to play with. Once Darnold's money comes off the books, Mayfield's money comes off the books, they're going to have some cash to play around with and surround Corral with talent. I don't hate that philosophy. I just don't necessarily know what direction they're going in this year. Is it Darnold? Is it Mayfield? Who's going to be the guy? And does Matt Rule have time to get this figured out? I mean, once you struggle for 3 years as an NFL coach, I think you're on the hot seat. Is he not, Ron? Like, doesn't this have to be kind of a successful year for Matt Rule to keep his job?
What is the thing about Matt Rule? He's smart. He doesn't do the Dan Campbell, like, ridiculous terms and speeches, because Dan Campbell, everybody's watching him now because he's talked so much about blue collar, kneecaps, all the stuff. Matt Rule hasn't said anything. Like, the only mistake I think he made, was that him or the Giants that named their quarterback and then had to, like, backtrack right away? Like, wait a minute. Was that Matt Rule that did that? I can't remember. Was that the Giants coach? No, I think it was the Giants coach that came in and said, like, he's our quarterback. No, I feel like it was the Panthers. I'd have to look that up. But Matt Rule doesn't make sensational statements. And he doesn't play in a market in Carolina where it's in the front of the media. Like the New York Giants, that's the front of the media. The New York Jets, even, it's the front of the media. It's a big media market. Wherever Tom Brady goes is a big market. So that's why Bruce Arians and everybody there, they're always talking about their coaching staff. When you're in a big market, or you have a big mouth or a big personality, one of the two, it's going to follow you. And so when you think about that, Matt Rule doesn't make those mistakes. So a lot of people don't really notice how mediocre they've been. Like, it's not like it's a glare, like Miami, huge market. You're going to talk about Dolphins football. And so whether it's bad or really bad, like it's just one of those things. And so Tyreek Hill was a splash. They got a new coach in McDaniels. And so that's where I think Matt Rule is kind of on, like, now I wouldn't call it a hot seat. I say warm seat. He's on a warm seat because it's more so of ownership. What does ownership think about him? Has he gone to them with a plan? Has he laid out, this is what we're going to do? And I look at quarterbacks that have been successful in the NFL. A lot of times it's because they've gotten to sit and wait. You look at RG3, I feel like he was injured, so that was part of his way out. Andrew Luck burned himself out. Peyton Manning struggled for 3 years and then became great. Tom Brady got to sit behind Bledsoe. Aaron Rodgers got to sit behind Favre. Pat Mahomes got to sit behind Alex Smith. So when you're seeing all these guys get a chance to kind of sit back and not have to right away take over, like maybe if it's a game, 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be, being able, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, again, you can say what you want to say about him, but he got to sit behind Tom Brady. When you get a chance to kind of sit back and watch, and then it's your turn to take over and be that guy, it just does something for your mental. Like you're able to take the time and learn the offense, learn the scheme, learn the speed of this game, learn how to be a pro. There's something to that. So maybe Matt Corral is the guy. Maybe that's what he's going to the owners and the GM and said, like, hey, I love this guy. Like I watched him throw. I watched him play. He has a chip on his shoulder because he wasn't taking as high as he thought he should be taking. Let's get somebody in here that can give us a year or two so we can get Matt Corral the time to become who he can be. And I think that's the plan for the Panthers. I think their goal is we got to have somebody that can go out there day one and be a starter. And Baker Mayfield's that guy. He's led teams to the playoffs. He's led winning drives. He's been a leader in a huddle for years. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, so he knows how to, like, he has the confidence. He knows how to play at a high level. So I think that's the key. And for the Browns too, and Baker Mayfield, it was time for change. It was like no matter what happened, because everybody's like, oh, if Deshaun Watson suspended, it's Baker Mayfield. It's one of those things where when your spouse or your significant other doesn't want you, it takes a lot for you to be willing to stay. And that's where I think Baker Mayfield hit. They just really didn't want him. He felt like it was a slap in the face to give another quarterback $230 million for me to sit behind him and compete. No, I'm out of here. And so that's good for him to get out of there. But at the end of the day, I think Matt Corral is their future. That's, I think, what they think. Whether he is or not, who knows? But I think that's what they think. He's our future. Let's get somebody in here to give him a chance to sit back, hold a clipboard for a little bit before we throw him into the fire. And I think that's the plan for the Panthers. But up next, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Stay tuned for that. Next up on the Ron Johnson Show is the part of the show I love. It's the Daily 3. It's 3 questions, 3 minutes each. Take it away, Sam.
Ron, what's your favorite nickname for Rudy Gobert? Is it the Stifle Tower or the French Rejection? Because he was introduced yesterday. I don't know. I think I like Stifle Tower. What do you think?
Stifle Tower probably sounds a little bit better. French Rejection just doesn't sound – it just sounds like a bad French date. Like, I don't know. It just does not sound yeah. I'll go with Stifle Tower.
Well, they rolled out the red carpet for Rudy Gobert. They had the big press conference. They've got all the social media on him. Here's my favorite quote from yesterday. This actually came from Chris Finch, the coach, when asked about how they're going to handle the playoffs with this huge lineup. Everyone's playing small ball. The Wolves are going to be big. Finch says, certainly teams tend to go small in the playoffs, but we're not. We're not doing that. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to figure out a way that all these things work. Ron, how is this going to work out? If Chris Finch is true to his word, can the Wolves win in the playoffs with the colossal front court that they have?
So this is the thing I'll say. Sometimes what's old is new. So if you go back to David Robinson and what's his name, Tim Duncan. If you go with Akeem Olajuwon, when they tried it with Ralph Sampson. Like, teams have tried it before. Teams have tried it. And they've won. But when you look at back then, it was about the big. It was about who can help out. Who can, like, how can I get 2 big guys in the game at the same time? When you think about, I guess Blake Griffin's not a big per se, but, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. Having 2 bigger guys that are going to put their back to the basket, give you some posts, give you some outside shooting. That's kind of been a formula that's worked per se. When you think about Porzingis, when they originally got him to the Mavs and all this other stuff, like that's the thought behind a lot of these moves teams make. Now, sometimes it works. And this is what the Timberwolves are going to have to do. When you first said that, 2 things came to my mind. Mm-hmm. The quote from Dodgeball. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. See if it works out for him. And then the other one was from Taken, when the French, I don't know what he was, the guy, Russian or whatever. Rejection? No, the Russian guy in Taken, when Liam Neeson calls him and says, I got a specific set of skills, blah, blah, he's like, good luck. Like, that's what I feel like. When Chris French made that comment, I'm like, good luck. Like, when they go small ball, this is the thing you're doing. You're going to end up trading 2s for 3s. And so I do agree with that. Like, when the team goes small, you have to go, like, if you're going to go big, you got to take advantage of your bigs and really go at them. Really try to put it in, put your back to the basket, because a dunk, a layup, and a quick short shot is a higher percentage shot than a 3. So when people talk about trading 2s for 3s with the Warriors, that's always been the biggest knock. But the problem is, if you look at what they are for the game, they're probably about 30 to 40% for the game. Sometimes even in the 20s when Steph Curry is not on. They're in the 20s. if you can be 80 to 90 from where you're taking your shots from, you probably win that game. And you put the pressure on them to now feel like every three they take has to go down versus because you're taking threes, you're missing. So they come down with confidence. They knock a three down. I think that's the key. Somebody else I heard today on the radio try to bring up like, oh, think about all the times they double team Cat and he dumped it down to Jared Vanderbilt. Now he can dump it down to Rudy Gobert. It's the same thing. Like you're not getting anything different. The big difference in Gobert was defense. I think defense is where he's going to add and take pressure off Cat. It's not offense. The double team can still happen on Cat because Gobert is not like an offensive juggernaut where you're like, oh my God, we got to make sure we are on Gobert. Like, no, that's not his game. His game is defense. He's going to dunk. He's going to get alley-oops and put them in whenever the guards go to the lane. If you toss it up, he'll take it. He'll get putbacks. He's a big rebounder. He carves out space. He hustles. He does the dirty work that a lot of bigs you hope will do. He also has pretty decent footwork if he gets caught in a mismatch when they try to run that pick in the high play where they keep the guard up top where Steph Curry wants Gobert. We've seen Gobert go at Steph on defense and kind of try to close out that space. But this is the thing, like at the end of the day, again, I go back to good luck. Like if you're going to stay big, even against small lineups, hopefully you have a game plan that you can stick to because the one thing about game plans, everybody has one. And I love Mike Tyson's quote. Everybody has a game plan until you get punched in the mouth. Once you get punched in the mouth, what are you going to do? His was like, look, I've taken punches to the mouth and I'm going to still keep coming at you. Some people can't take that punch and they just get disoriented. They start jacking up threes. They start doing all kinds of stuff that's out of their minds. Hey, you are not a point guard, Rudy Gobert. Stop bringing the ball up the court. Like people lose their minds when they get punched in the mouth. And so that's what I hope is that when they take this first couple punches, if they're playing big versus small lineup and this team's knocked down a couple threes, they don't just lose focus and start, Cat starts jacking up threes from the logo. Like they still have to calm down, play their game, and slowly get back into this game with some twos, maybe a three if it's there. But if you're going to play big, take advantage of it. Because if you're still going to play a normal style of small ball type basketball with two bigs, then you're not doing what you got the team to do. That's just my thought, Sam. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think the best point there is that the Vanderbilt exchange for Gobert. Like, there's nothing more frustrating than when you're watching a team and they can't get a defensive rebound. Like there were a couple games where the Grizzlies were just killing them on the offensive glass. So if the trade-off is you're going to not close out on a few three-point shooters in exchange for you're going to get the rebounds and you're not going to give up second chances, I'm okay with that exchange because it was so frustrating because the Wolves were just so undersized that they couldn't get rebounds. They couldn't end possessions. And that to me is what will not happen with Rudy Gobert on the team. Yeah. I've got an over-under for you, Ron. Dalvin Cook's rushing prop is available in Vegas and other sports books. Here's the number. 1,150.5 yards is the over-under for Dalvin Cook this year. Are you hammering the over or the under? When you go to the Bellagio or Caesars, Ron, are you going to the sports window and are you putting your mortgage on the over or the under?
I'm going under. I'm going under on that because I think he's going to be more of a dual threat back. I think he will get 1,000 yards, but I think he's going to be more of a dual threat where you're going to see 600 to 700 passing yards to Dalvin Cook if he can make this is the thing. He has to make the catches first. But I think they're going to go with a heavy pass balance, run balance, 1,000-yard running back, but maybe a 600 to 700-yard receiving back. And I think that's kind of the key is I just don't know if it's going to be a ground and pound nonstop. You're going to have a Alexander Madison coming in as well. I mean, you're going to see them try to keep Dalvin Cook fresh. And I just think it's the under.
All right. Last 3 years, Dalvin Cook has played 14, 14, and 13 games. So let's say he plays 14 games. What does he need to average on the ground to get to that number? Well, do the quick math, 82 yards per game. Mm-hmm. I think that he can do that because he's going to have a couple games, Ron, not every game, but he's going to have a couple where he gets 150 and he makes that average so much more attainable. I'm going to take the over on that because I think he's going to be really efficient on the ground this year. Before our final question of the Daily 3, today's the last day where you can apply to win an NBA Jam Shack edition with Arcade 1-Up, your at-home retro arcade game leader. The best game ever. NBA Jam is back. They've got the ball that's on fire. There's no quarter breaks, good pace of play, no fouls, no free throws. Keeps the game moving. Wi-Fi leaderboards. You're more connected than ever. You can pre-order from arcade1up.com, arcade1up.com for a September ship date. And yes, the July 8th deadline is tomorrow to win an NBA Jam Shack Edition console. Enter for a chance to win at arcade1up.com/lockedon, arcade1up.com/lockedon. Don't miss out. Who are you going to play with? And Ron, is there still a lack of belief in the Twins? They lead by 4.5 games in the Central, but I was looking at the odds online. The Twins are still, strangely, and maybe this was a couple days not updated because they just beat the White Sox 2 of 3, but from what I could tell in the most recent props, the Twins were 35-1 to win the World Series. 13 other teams had better odds to win the World Series than the Twins. Why is Vegas sleeping on the Minnesota Twins, Ron Johnson?
Well, one is the Minnesota Twins, so they're just cursed, just like the Minnesota Vikings and the Timberwolves, and they blow leads. I mean, they lost 8-9 in the 10th again. It's like a record, like it's whatever it's called, deja vu. Like if you woke up and told me the Twins lost in the 10th, I'm gonna say like you just told me that yesterday. But if you look at the names of names in baseball, it's a reason why. You got the Yankees, and because I haven't even seen these odds, but this is what I'm going to guess they have ahead of the Twins to win. They have the Yankees, they have the Rays, they have the Red Sox, they also have the Astros, they have the Mariners probably, and then when you jump over, so that's 5. You got the Mets, you got the Braves, you got the Phillies, you also have the Brewers, you got the Cardinals, you got the Cubs are only 34 games. That's 10. You got the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants. That's probably the 13 teams ahead of them, possibly. Right or wrong?
Yeah, pretty much. But the strangest one to me is on all of these sites that I'm seeing, I'm seeing the White Sox listed like just above them, which doesn't make any sense. I know the White Sox were favorites going into the season. They've played very poorly. The Twins just beat them 2 of 3. A lot of places still like the White Sox chances better than the Twins. They're in 3rd place. They're 5.5 games back. And you're correct. Like a lot of those AL East teams are above them. Right. All the division leaders in the NL. And I know the Twins record isn't spectacular, but it feels like people are sleeping on this team where, I mean, if I was at the Bellagio Sportsbook window, I would look at those odds, 35-1, and I would say that's a pretty good bet for a team that's well ahead in their division. Like the Twins are a very good bet to make the playoffs. Right. So if you're going to get 35-1, if you're in the tournament, that feels like a good value bet to me.
Yeah, and they have, I mean, the Mets, when you think about the Mets, you think about the Dodgers, you look at the Yankees, and then you look at the Astros. That's the only teams that have a better win record than the Twins. There are 3 teams with 47 wins. That's the Brewers and the Twins and the Padres. And so when you think about that, the Braves as well have more wins. So you got the Mets and the Braves. So when you think about that, that to me is perplexing alone that they're not like 6th or 7th on that list.
You missed out on the $100,000 on the Kentucky Derby when you didn't place that bet you were thinking about. I think this is your chance. This is your chance, Ron, to get that money back, 35-1 on the Minnesota Twins.
Hey, I might have to do that, but that'll do it for the Ron Johnson Show. I'm your host, Ron Johnson. That's my producer, Sam Ekstrom. I want to thank everybody that continues to download, subscribe. Please subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube, on wherever you get your podcast, and you can find the Ron Johnson Show. You can take us with us wherever you go. Have a great day.